That should be better. Shabbat shalom. Yes, good. Shabbat shalom at home. Shabbat shalom. We're glad that you're with us this morning, and hope everybody is well. And we'll have a beautiful continuation of this bright and sunny, albeit crisp, Shabbat morning. And we start by welcoming the Sabbath this morning with the singing of Ma Tovu, how fair your tents are, O Jacob, although we are thankful to be in our structure that is tent-like. We are so thankful that it's got walls and doors and heat enough for this morning. I hope that you are in similar places and spaces of warmth and goodness, and that you can take a moment and perhaps look around and give thanks for the spaces in which you find yourselves. And join us on page 192 with the singing of Ma Tovu.
Ma tovu halecha Yaakov, mishkenotecha Yisrael, va'ani berov chastecha, avo v'techa, eshtachavelecha, elecha kachecha, v'yiratecha, Adonai ahavti me'on betecha, umkom mishkan kevodecha, va'ani eshtachava lecha, evrecha, evrecha, lifnei Adonai osi, va'ani tfilati lecha Adonai, et ratzon, Elohim berov chastecha, aneni bemet yishecha.
We go from the wide open spaces to our own mikdash, our own temple, our own sanctuaries, our bodies, as we say together, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher yatzar et ha'adam b'chokhmah uvaravo nikavim nikavim chalulim chalulim. Praise to you, Adonai, our God, sovereign of the universe, who formed the human body with skill, creating the body's many pathways and openings. It is well known before your throne of glory that if one of them be wrongly opened or closed, it would be impossible to endure and stand before you. Blessed are you, Adonai, who heals all flesh, working wondrously. Baruch atah Adonai, rofeh kol basar, umafli la'asot.
Elohai neshama shenatata bi tehorahi. 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 Elohai neshama shenatata bi tehorahi.
My God, the soul you have given me is pure. You created it, you shaped it, you breathed it into me, and you protect it within me. For as long as my soul is within me, I offer thanks to you, Adonai, my God and God of my ancestors. Source of all creation, sovereign of all souls, praised are you, Adonai, in whose hand is every living soul and the breath of humankind. Baruch atah Adonai, asher biyado nefesh kol chai, beruach kol basar ish.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lesech bivina, v'havchinu ben yom uben laila. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, pokeach ivrim.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, matir asurim.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, zokev kefufim.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, rokah haaretz al hamayim.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, hamechin mitzadei kaver.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, malbish arumim.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, anoten laya'ef koach.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, hama'avir shina me'enai, utnuma me'afapai.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, she'asani b'tzelem Elohim.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, she'asani bat chorim.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, she'asani Yisrael.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, ozer Yisrael b'gvura.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, oter Yisrael b'tifara.
Amen. We give thanks for our daily miracles, each and every one of them, as we say amen. Let us continue with our blessing for Torah study, which can be found on page 204. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu la'asok b'divrei Torah. Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, sovereign of the universe, who hallows us with mitzvot, commanding us to engage in the words of Torah. We say, we seekers of God, how do we find you in good deeds and in the study of Torah? And your search for us, you find us in the bending of the knee, in the rigor of study, in the honesty of commerce, through a good heart, through decency, in respect, true friendship, companionship, and love, through truth and peace, in the no that is really no and the yes that is really yes. Baruch atah Adonai, Amelamed Torah le'amo Yisrael. Belu divarim she'en lahem shi'ur. These are the things that are limitless, of which a person enjoys the fruit of the world, while the principle remains in the world to come. They are honoring one's father and mother, engaging in deeds of compassion, arriving early for study morning and evening, dealing graciously with guests, visiting the sick, providing for the wedding couple, accompanying the dead for burial, being devoted in prayer, and making peace among people. But the study of Torah encompasses them all. Join us, please, as we continue on page 214 with the singing of Psalm 92, Tov Lehodot.
Tov, tov, tov lehodot, tov lehodot l'Adonai. Tov, tov, tov lehodot, tov lehodot l'Adonai. Ulzamer l'shimcha elyon, l'shimcha elyon. Ulzamer, ulzamer l'shimcha elyon. Tov, tov, tov lehodot, tov lehodot l'Adonai. Tov, tov, tov lehodot, tov lehodot l'Adonai. להגיד בבוקר חסדך ואמונתך בלילות, בלילות. טוב, טוב, טוב להודות, טוב להודות לאדוני. טוב, טוב, טוב להודות, טוב להודות לאדוני.
Page 223, as we continue in the middle of the page. You shall always be praised, great and holy God, our sovereign in heaven and on earth. Songs of praise and psalms of adoration become you, acknowledging your might and your dominion. Yours are strength and sovereignty, sanctity, grandeur, and glory always. We offer our devotion and open our hearts in acclamation. Baruch atah Adonai, El Melech Gadol Batishbachot, El HaHodaot, Adon Haniflaot, Habocher B'Shirei Zimra Melech Elchei Ha'olamim.
יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה,
Amen.
ועמד יברח חירותי, וימליך מלכותי, וחייך בנו יום אחד, ובחייך בית ישראל. בגלה, בגלה, ובזמן קריב, ואמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מבורך, לעולם עולם ימיה, יתברך, יתברך, וישתבח, ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא, ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתעלה, שמי דקודשה בריחו, לעילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה. תושבחתה ונחמתה, דמירן בעלמה, ואמרו Amen.
We'll invite you please in body or in spirit to rise as we turn to our call to worship the Baruch Hu.
Baruch Adonai, le'olam ba'ed.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam yotzer or uvorei choshech oseh shalom uvorei et hakol hameir la'aretz v'ladarim aleha barachamim uvtuvo mechadesh b'chol yom tamid ma'aseh v'reshit ma rabu ma'asecha Adonai kulam b'chochma asita malah haaretz kinyanecha titbarach Adonai Eloheinu al shabach ma'aseh yadecha Ve'al me'orei or she'asita yifa'arucha sela, or chadash al Zion ta'ir, v'nizkechu lanu mehera la'oro, Baruch atah Adonai, yotzer hamerot. Love your neighbor as yourself, you said, and light-blinded we saw that inner and outer worlds are one as you are one. You spoke and we wrote. We reached for you down the centuries, your light moving before us as we climbed, fell back and climbed again, your Sinai of life. Baruch atah Adonai, habocher be'amo Yisrael be'ahava.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto, Le'olam va'ed.
And please be seated as we continue with the Ve'ahavta.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם, בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטלטלות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
Emet, Emet, there is no place where you are not. Even in the wilderness, there is your word. Emet, the pen strokes of lightning, white fire, black flame. Stir the soul's passion, guide our sacred way. True and enduring is Torah. Your truth for us is certain and established now and forevermore. Like Moses, Miriam, and all Israel, we sing out and we rejoice.
מי כמוך Elim Adonai, Mi kamocha nedar b'kodesh, Nora tehilot, Osepele, Nora tehilot, Osepele. Shira Chadasha, Shibchu Geulim, L'Shimcha Sfat Hayam, Yachad Kulam, Hodu V'imlichu Ve'amru, Adonai Yimloch Leolam Va'ed, Leolam Va'ed, Adonai Yimloch Leolam Va'ed.
We are taught, especially this week, as we read actually this, we'll hear in a few moments, Marie will share some words of Torah with us. This passage from Mi Chamocha that Elise just was singing, the part of our liturgy every Shabbat, evening and morning, the words Mi Chamocha Ba'elim Adonai, who is like you, O God. And Herb Bronstein taught us at this season, especially when we read this passage from Exodus, we are to remember that Egypt is symbolic of any bondage, any slavery. In singing the Song of the Sea, we are at Shabbat Shirah this week. We sing our present experience of redemption, as well as the historic redemption of Israel from Egypt in our past. Every day, said the rabbis, we are sold into slavery. And every day we are delivered. And every day we experience the miraculous as real as that at the sea. It is for us to remember each and every day, each and every time we sing the words Mi Chamocha, and each and every time we step into prayer and community. We continue now with the tefillah, which can be found on page 242, and I will invite you please in body or in spirit to rise.
Adonai sepatai tiftach ufia ki tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah. Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor Hanura, El Elyon, Gomer Chasadim Tovim, V'konei ha'akol, V'zocher chastei avot v'imahot, U'mevi ki'ula livnei v'neihem, Leman shemo be'ahava, Melech Ozer u'Moshiach u'Magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham Bezrat Sarah. Ata gibor le'olam Adonai, Mechaye hakol atah, Rav lehoshia, Mashiv haruach u'morid hakashem, Mechalkel chayim bechesed, Mechaye hakol berachamim rabim, Somech noflim berofech olim, Umatir asurim, Umekayem emunato, Lishenei afar, Michamocha ba'al kipurot, Umito melach, Melech memit umechayeh, Umatzmiach Yeshua, V'ne'emanata lahachayot hakol, Baruch atah Adonai, Mechaye hakol. Nekadesh et shimcha ba'olam, Kashem shemakdishim oto b'shmei marom, Kakatuv ayad neviyecha, V'kara ze'el ze'eh ve'amar, Kadosh, 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 Adonai Tzevaot, Meloch ol haaretz, Kevodo. Adir, Adirenu Adonai, Adonenu bechol haaretz. Baruch kevod Adonai mimkomo. Echad hu Eloheinu, hu Avinu hu Malkeinu, hu Moshienu vehu Yashmienu, Birachamav leinei kol chai. Ani Adonai Elohechem, Nimloch Adonai leolam, Elohai Zion, Ledor vador, Hallelujah. Ledor vador nagid gad lecha, ulenetzach netzachim kedushatcha nahakdish. V'shivchacha Eloheinu, mipinu lo yamush leolam vahed. Baruch atah Adonai, Ha'el HaKadosh.
And please be seated as we continue on page 250 with the singing of Yismechu.
Yismechu v'malachutecha, shomrei, shomrei, shomrei Shabbat, v'korei oneg Shabbat. Yismechu v'malachutecha, shomrei, shomrei, shomrei Shabbat, v'korei oneg Shabbat. Mekadeshei, mekadeshei shvi Shabbat. Kulam yisbehu, v'yitangu mitu v'chashabat. Yismechu v'malchutecha, shomrei, shomrei, shomrei Shabbat, v'korei oneg Shabbat. Yismechu v'malchutecha, shomrei, shomrei, shomrei Shabbat, v'korei oneg Shabbat. V'hashvi ratzita bo v'kidashto Shabbat, chemdat yamim, oto karata Shabbat. Yismechu v'malchutecha, shomrei, shomrei, shomrei Shabbat, v'korei oneg Shabbat. Yismechu v'malchutecha, shomrei, shomrei, shomrei Shabbat, v'korei oneg Shabbat. Zecher l'masei v'reishit Shabbat. Zecher l'masei v'reishit Shabbat. Yismechu v'malchutecha, shomrei, shomrei, shomrei Shabbat, v'korei oneg Shabbat. Yismechu v'malchutecha, shomrei, shomrei, shomrei Shabbat, v'korei oneg Shabbat.
We say those who keep Shabbat by calling it a delight will rejoice in your realm. And I have to tell you at home and here in the sanctuary that when we see your heads moving and when we see this, it is so helpful in helping us delight in Shabbat, those of us who can see it, delight in Shabbat in this strange stretch of time in which we again find ourselves. So help us by embodying that prayer. You, in fact, do that. You help us every time we see you moving with us. Even if we can't hear all of you, we can feel you. So thank you. You help with the additional, I hope, for one another as well, the delighting in Shabbat. Join us, please, as we continue on page 253, as we offer our thanks by saying, we offer thanks, O God, for this Shabbat, which unites us in faith and hope, for Shabbat holiness, which inspires sacred living, for Shabbat memories glowing even in darkness, for Shabbat peace born of friendship and love. We offer thanks and blessing, O God. Baruch atah Adonai, Mekadesh HaShabbat. Ritzei Adonai Eloheinu be'amcha Yisrael, u'tefilatam be'ahava tikabel, u'tehi l'ratzon tamid avodat Yisrael amecha, Baruch atah Adonai she'odcha levadcha be'yira na'avod. We acknowledge with thanks that you are Adonai, our God, and the God of our ancestors forever. You are the rock of our lives and the shield of our every salvation in every generation. Let us thank you and praise you for our lives which are in your hand, for our souls which are in your care, for your miracles that we experience every day, and for your wondrous deeds and favors at every time of day, evening, morning, and noon. O good one whose mercies never end, O compassionate one whose kindness never fails, we forever put our hope in you. For all these things, O sovereign, let your name be forever praised and blessed. Baruch atah Adonai, hatov shimcha l'chana elehudot.
Sim shalom, tova uvracha, chen b'chesed v'rachamim aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol Yisrael amecha, barcheinu yotzreinu kolanu kechad, ve'or panecha, ki be'or panecha natata lanu, Adonai Eloheinu. Sim shalom, tova uvracha, chen b'chesed v'rachamim aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol Yisrael amecha, Torat chayim ve'avat chesed, ve'avat chesed, utzedaka uvracha v'rachamim, ve'chaim ve'shalom. Sim shalom, tova uvracha, chen v'chesed v'rachamim aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol Yisrael amecha, v'tov beinecha levarech et amcha Yisrael, b'chol עת ובכל שעה לשלומך. שים שלום, טובה וברכה, חן וחסד ורחמים עלינו, ועל כל ישראל, ועל כל ישראל עמך.
We'll take a moment or two in prayer, in silence, in meditation.
Ose shalom, shalom bimromav, uyase shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imru amen. Ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imru amen.
We'll continue now with somewhat of our Seder Kriyat HaTorah, our service for the reading of Torah. In these times in which we find ourselves, it is amazing technology that allows us to have our Torah reader join us on Zoom. So we will invite you, please, to turn to page 368. You'll find the bracha there ahead of Torah reading. We are reading from the book of Exodus, despite the fact that we're studying Genesis and Torah study. We're actually in the book of Exodus. this week from Bishalach, Exodus chapter 13 and forward. This is a fascinating and exciting and pivotal moment in our history. This is where Shabbat Shirah gets its name from, the Shabbat of Songs. This is when the children of Israel escape across the Sea of Reeds from Pharaoh and his army, who we know are approaching from behind. And Moses and the Israelites sing this tremendous song of praise to God. And we know in appreciation as the Israelites make their way into the wilderness that they show their appreciation by complaining a tremendous amount about what they don't have while they are wandering, and wonder why Moses has in fact taken them out of the land of Egypt, where they understood and knew what was in front of them. And they had a sense of security, albeit not a happy existence. It was secure for them. And they wondered if in fact Moses was taking them out into the wilderness to meet their death. And there are some noteworthy portions of Exodus, a section of Exodus in addition to that, which is the thought that God takes them through a circuitous route through the wilderness. And we wonder, in fact, why God just doesn't directly allow them to in a quick way, make their way through. And we're taught that there are no shortcuts through the wilderness. God takes the Israelites the long way. And Moses carries the bones of Joseph with him, remembering that Joseph's brothers had promised to bury him in the land of Israel. So we are going to read Marie is going to read for us from the very beginning. I'm going to actually screen share it. You will be able to find the blessing on page 368 in your prayer books. For those of you who have a Chumash at home, a commentary at home, you will find her reading on page 438, but I'm also going to screen share it. Hopefully that will work, and you'll see it's a beautiful layout. This isn't quite how it looks in the text. This is from the cantor, you will see. So this is how it looks, and you'll see it lays out, whether you are familiar with the Hebrew or not, you'll see it lays out quite interestingly as a song, and in a brick-like fashion. We are taught that these pauses, really perhaps the writing of it is to mirror what it looked like when the sea parted, and we see it coming through the white spaces on either side, and what we can imagine those spaces in between freedom and the pursuit of our enslavers behind us could mean, and what it means to travel through those spaces. So I'll invite you, as I said last week, clunky as it is, to unmute yourselves for one moment. We'll share the blessing before the Torah reading, and then Marie will offer the Torah reading, and then the blessing afterwards. So again, page 368 in your prayer book for the Aliyah, and page 438 in your commentaries to follow along the reading or here on the screen. Baruch et Adonai.
Baruch atah Eloheinu melech
Asher b'farvanu ha'ami v'natan lanu et
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu haTorah.
Az Yashir Moshe Uvenei Yisrael Et Hashira Hazot Ladonai Vayomru Lemor Ashira Ladonai Ki Gaoga Sus Virokvo Ramavayam O Ziv Zimradia Vayeheli Lishua Zeli ve'anavehu Elohe avi ba'aromenhu Adonai ish milchama Adonai shemo Markavot paro vechelo yara vayam Umivchar shalishav tubu ve'amsuv Tehomot yachasiyumu yardu vimtzolot kemo aven Yamin ha'adonai nedari b'koach ימינך אדוני תירץ אויב, וברוב גאונך תחרוז קמך, תשלח חרונך יוכלמו כקש.
Beautiful. Yasher koach, yasher koach. And let's share the blessing.
Noah.
Let's share the blessing afterwards. Beautiful, beautiful. Baruch atah Adonai
Eloheinu melech
אשר
Hashananu
באמת
B'chaim
olam.
Eloheinu Baruch
Baruch
atah
atah
Adonai
Eloheinu
And Marie, beautiful, beautiful. Thank you for sharing such beautiful, powerful words of Torah. And we are going to continue our study of what Marie just read. We'll do a little bit of learning together. Hopefully I'll make that bigger. You can see that. Can you see that? Yes, give me a thumbs up, somebody. Thumbs up that you can see that. Yes, good, thank you. Okay, so here we are at the beginning of this passage. And I don't know if we have somebody who is willing to read. This is, I'll show you the entire passage. This is what we're reading. It is from verse 10 through to 29. Would somebody like to read the English? No tricky words, I promise. If someone like to read the English for us? Do I see any hands up? Any hands up? Marie, you get a pass, by the way. Marlene, thank you as always.
Okay, it's little. Okay, as Pharaoh drew near, the Israelites.
Wait, Marie, hold on, sorry. Marlene, 1 second. Let me make it bigger for you. And friends, you can also make it bigger. Is that better?
Yes, thank you. As Pharaoh drew near, the Israelites caught sight of the Egyptians advancing upon them. Greatly frightened, the Israelites cried out to the Eternal, and they said to Moses, "Was it for want of graves in Egypt that you brought us to die in the wilderness? What have you done to us, taking us out of Egypt? Is this not the very thing we told you in Egypt, saying, 'Let us be, and we will serve the Egyptians, for it is better for us to serve the Egyptians than to die in the wilderness?' But Moses said to the people, 'Have no fear. Stand by and witness the deliverance which the Eternal will work for you today. For the Egyptians whom you see today, you will never see again. The Eternal will battle for you. You hold your peace.' Then the Eternal One said to Moses, 'Why do you cry out to me? Tell the Israelites to go forward, and you lift up your rod and hold out your arm over the sea and split it, so that the Israelites may march into the sea on dry ground. And I will stiffen the hearts of the Egyptians so that they go in after them. And I will gain glory through Pharaoh and all his warriors, his chariots and his riders. Let the Egyptians know that I am the Eternal, when I gain glory through Pharaoh, his chariots and his riders.' The angel of God who had been going ahead of the Israelite army now moved and followed behind them. And the pillar of cloud shifted from in front of them and took up a place behind them. And it came between the army of the Egyptians and the army of Israel. Thus there was a cloud with the darkness, and it cast a spell upon the night, so that the one could not come near the other all through the night. Then Moses held out his arm over the sea, and the Eternal drove back the sea with a strong east wind all that night, and turned the sea into dry ground. The waters were split, and the Israelites went into the sea on dry ground, the waters forming a wall for them on their right and on their left. The Egyptians came in pursuit after them into the sea, all of Pharaoh's horses, chariots, and riders. At the morning watch, the Eternal looked down upon the Egyptian army from a pillar of fire and cloud, and threw the Egyptian army into panic. God locked the wheels of their chariots so that they moved forward with difficulty. And the Egyptians said, 'Let us flee from the Israelites, for the Eternal is fighting for them against Egypt.' Then the Eternal One said to Moses, 'Hold out your arm over the sea, that the waters may come back upon the Egyptians and upon their chariots and upon their riders. Moses held out his arm over the sea, and at daybreak, the sea returned to its normal state, and the Egyptians fled at its approach. But the Eternal hurled the Egyptians into the sea. The waters turned back and covered the chariots and the riders. Pharaoh's entire army that followed them into the sea, not one of them remained. But the Israelites had marched through the sea on dry ground, the waters forming a wall for them on their right and on their left.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. It is a stunning visual image, isn't it? When we look at this story, and some of us have seen the movie version of it as well, right? When we look at this story, when we reread each year, when we reread this story, it's stunning. It's stunning. So I am going to stop the share because I think many people are familiar with this story, and hope that you will do a little bit of learning, that we can do a little bit of learning together. And you can tell me, what do you imagine that moment was actually like? Do you imagine, have you imagined that moment? We talk all the time metaphorically about what it's like to be delivered from bondage. When you hear that story again today, when you hear Marie's beautiful chanting of the story, when you read it in the English, what is it that catches your attention? What is it? You could, right there, 3 million, give or take, Jews standing at the shores of the Sea of Reeds. Their options are either to go forward, the sea unsplit, or go back to Egypt. We know the sea's probably freezing, right, and strange. As I said earlier, right, Egypt is familiar to them, right? The Egyptians are thundering closer. They're panicked. The Jews are panicked. Well, what do you think that moment was like? You can unmute just an answer. Those of you who are at home, we can hear you here as well. Do you think it was true? Do you think that story is true? This is like not a spoiler alert, but do you think it's true? Right, I see your faces. I can see your faces at home, right? I see those smirks. Right?
It's terrifying. It's a terrifying scenario.
Go ahead, Ron. Yeah. Yeah, terrifying. Why?
It's impending doom. First of all, the uncertainty of marching forward, right, into this morass of, crustaceans and fish and wet surfaces and boiling water on the side. It's an act of faith to throw yourself into that enormous crevasse, and then sort of the amazement at the death of all the Egyptians that we should not be rejoicing about.
Yes, far too often we overlook that piece of the story. Yes, and yes, the tremendous fear, tremendous danger that awaits them either way, right, Ron, as you correctly note, right?
So we should not dance on their graves, basically, as the Torah says later.
Right. Never should we dance on the graves of those who are deceased. And the difficulty that we understand around, or don't understand around, a God who hardens the heart of Pharaoh continuously, and who perhaps is responsible for this act of nature, or perhaps it was just an act of nature, right? Perhaps it was an earthquake, perhaps it was a tidal wave, right? There are all kinds of ways that we can understand what might have happened there, right? But the story, in any case, offers us something awesome, both, right? The word in Hebrew is yirah, right? It means either awesome or fearful, right? We have yirat Hashem, right? Yirat Adonai, right? The fear or the awe of God, and the very fine line between fear and awe, right? I know that I have mentioned this before, right? The difference that some people feel on a roller coaster, right? Some people love it and they find it exhilarating, and there's excitement and their heart is racing and their palms are sweating, and right. And other people would use those exact same descriptions and finish it off with saying, I was terrified, right? What is that fine line, right? The Midrash teaches us that Nachshon, right? That there was a man named Nachshon who actually, Ron, you spoke of this leap of faith that was necessary. We are told really through the text that the Israelites didn't want to go, right? They said, what, are you kidding? This is surely going to lead to our death. Take us back to Egypt. And the Midrash goes on to say that Nachshon was one of the few people, perhaps the only person, who took the chance, and that he's Aaron's brother-in-law and also the prince of the tribe of Judah. He's a leader in his own right. And according to this Midrash, he sees what's happening, and he sees, better yet, what's not happening, with everyone just kind of standing frozen in fear at the edge of the water. Men, women, children, leaders, all of them unable to move. And he listens to Moses and God arguing. He watches this whole scene in disbelief. And wasting no time, and Ron, to your act of faith that is necessary that you mentioned, Nachshon himself, and singularly, starts to walk into the water. First up to his knees, then up to his waist as everybody is watching and nothing happens, and then up to his shoulders, and then up to his neck. And the story goes on to tell us that as the Israelites watch in awe, they stop their crying, and Moses stops debating with God and sees Nachshon's incredible courage. And Moses lifts his staff, and the Nachshon, we are told, is in the water so deeply that it has actually covered his mouth and is up to his nostrils all the way. And that only then does the story tell us that the water begins to part. And that we are, in fact, to learn from Nachshon, not just to stand on the shores, but to take that first step in and to keep wading in and to act in the face of fear, the way Nachshon did, and to take literally that step into that which frightens us cautiously and carefully, but with tremendous leadership and community around us. And we know that following Nachshon's example, the Israelites actually run toward these parted waters. To escape to the other side, they join Nachshon on dry land. And then we know from the biblical text that Pharaoh's army races into the parted waters only tragically to drown as they come crashing back around them. Agreed, we should never, ever, ever look askance at those whose lives are lost, ever, 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 ever. And the ancient rabbis are trying to teach us something through the Exodus story in this accompanying midrash, that even great leaders, even Moses gets stuck sometimes. Moses wasn't the one in this midrash who walked forward. Moses is the one who lifts his staff, but it is Nachshon, in fact, who is the one who takes that first step. It is a beautiful and a powerful dovetail into Martin Luther King Jr. weekend, where we find ourselves this weekend, right? That Nachshon didn't hesitate, right? That Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King didn't hesitate. He waded in further and further and further until those waters parted. And it is the same place that we find ourselves right now, right? It is not for us to stand on the shores and to stand back. So let me ask you, when you read this story, and when you imagine the story, true or not, however you understand it, the parting of the sea, this miracle that created really us as a people, do you think there are those in your lifetime, I ask this not rhetorically, in your lifetime, who have imitated a Nachshon? Have you seen somebody who has acted that boldly, that courageously as a Nachshon? So I ask you actually to unmute yourselves and share with us if you have ever witnessed or been alongside of someone, or have you yourself felt that you have been alongside of a Nachshon, not for the sense of being self-congratulatory, but to inspire, right? Whether in your own circle or for you yourself. Have you ever imitated Nachshon?
Young surgeons picking up the scalpel for the first time.
Yes. Yes. We had Reverend Brown here last night, right? And she talked about confronting a police officer outside of a store, right? Because she was parked in a way that he didn't care for, right? She talked about, for those who were here last night, she talked about a horrible encounter with a parishioner of hers who went to the bank to cash a significant check, not millions of dollars, $1,500, I think is what she said, and who was questioned about the validity and the source of that check and actually had to wait while the teller called the person who had issued the check. And many of us were heartsick when we heard that story. And she finished it off by saying, and she went back to that bank with that parishioner of hers and had the conversation with that teller and said, unacceptable, unjust, undignified, right? That is a Nachshon moment. We are not looking for a splitting of the sea. That's not going to happen in our lifetime, right? I say in the middle of a global pandemic, right? That's not going to happen. That's not going to happen. But what are the moments where we can notice, pay attention to, be inspired by people who take a significant risk? So young doctors. What else?
For me, it was various political marches in the early and mid 70s. And a Nachshon for me was Harvey Milk and working on his campaign. And the shock and terror when he was murdered, which hasn't left me. And another one was Tim Maines here in Rochester. Very, very brave people.
Yes. Yes, thank you, Marlene, thank you. Thank you. What else? Those of you who grew up in the 60s and 70s, I grew up in the 80s, right? And we had nuclear testing. And I remember thinking, right, that over the airspace in Canada. And I remember thinking at the time, the people who were protesting, right, who were lying down in Queen's Park, right, in our government center in Toronto, who were lying down in front of the offices to protest, right? Right. I think of people who make bold statements around climate change, right? Who insist that we not do things the way we have been, right? What else? People, I'm looking at all of you who grew up in the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s. What else? What else?
Michigan.
You talk about the 60s, and I can't help but think of all the people. You mentioned Rabbi Dressner, who died yesterday or the day before yesterday. And the rabbi I grew up with was one of the rabbis who was arrested in St. Augustine. The son of very dear friends of my grandparents was killed in the civil rights era in Mississippi. The bravery of these people who stood up for what they knew was right at great personal risk, both to body and to reputation and the rest of that.
Yes.
Michigan Avenue, August 1968, the Democratic Convention. Absolutely terrifying experience. But it took a lot of courage for people of my generation to face blue uniforms with big clubs.
Yes.
Terrified my mother.
Yeah, right. Thank you. What else? What else? Any other moments at all? What are the moments that you see your nieces, your nephews, your grandchildren, your neighbors, our younger ones facing head on? Have you seen some of those moments? I see our kids every day facing this time boldly, starkly, courageously, not shriveling up and saying, I'm going to stay under the covers, though there are many for whom that has been a significant risk, and the swell of the school districts and the mental health care professionals and families and communities of faith that have gathered around to ensure their well-being. I think of our students who have said gender identity is yours to proclaim, and it is ours to respect and hold with dignity. I think of our kids who say no to racism, who say not in our schools, not in our neighborhoods, and who are really trailblazing in the most extraordinary ways, the way Nachshon did, in a way in which so much of society points to them not being able to do what they ought to do, what they're meant to do, and them saying, we're not stopping. We're not stopping. Right? So Nachshon, right, the story of Nachshon isn't just isolated to thousands of years ago, to this story, true or not, at the splitting of the sea, but for us to imagine, would we be the Israelites tucked in the middle of that throng? Would we be those Israelites who say, I'm going to wait and see? Would we be on the edges saying, I'm going to turn back, or I'm going to follow the leader in? Or would we be alongside a Nachshon and a Moses, right? Who would we be, and what is the right place for us at any given moment, right? We know that there was no short trek through the wilderness, right? That God took them through through the Israelites through a circuitous route. And the thinking was that the Israelites needed the time in the desert to grow up, to mature, to find their legs, and to find their principles and their values and their unifying concepts. And there are those who said at the beginning of this time that this pandemic is our desert, that this is our opportunity to figure out who we are and how we ought to be and who God hopes will be. So it is Shabbat Shira, an opportunity for us to think deeply and to consider carefully and to wonder who we might be at the edge of the sea. So thank you. Thank you for some learning together, and thank you for some considering together and for sharing your Nachshon moments with us so that we can be inspired and that we can know with whom we sit and with whom we pray and with whom we are in community. I thank you. I thank you. Let's go on as we turn to our concluding blessings, the Aleinu. We'll ask you please in body or in spirit to join us as we turn to page 586 and rise.
Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon hakol, latet gedula liyotzeh breshit, shelo asanu k'goyei haratzot, velo samanu k'mishpachot ha'adama, shelo sam chelkeinu kanan, v'gor aleinu kechol hamonam, v'anachnu korim, shatavim u'modim, לפני מלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא, ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד.
We pause now and we recall our loved ones whom death has recently taken from us and those who died at this season in years past. Those we have drawn into our hearts with our own and those whose memories we are honoring today. This morning, we are recalling, and this Shabbat, we are recalling the passing of Rabbi Cy Dresner. Liz, as you said, one of the most significant contributors to that group of interfaith clergy who were supporting Martin Luther King Jr. and who were a part of a mass incarceration of clergy at the time, supporting the action that must have been done. We are mourning his passing. He passed away the day before yesterday on the 13th. May his memory be for a blessing. So too are we recalling Linda Falk, sister of Susan Mercier, and Jack Feldman, the grandfather of Brian Feldman. And today, this Shabbat marks a yahrzeit and anniversary of passing for Ronald Audi, Edith Bement, Harry Danoff, Beatrice Ettlinger, Fred Feinstein, Barbara Merlis Florentine, Schubert Fry, Eva Fry, Joseph Geiger, Mary Gleason, Leatrice Golden, Natalie Gordon, Peter Haidu, Edith Harris, Harris Jacobson, Sadie Klein, Tatiana Krasnick, Dorothy Linsner, Stephen Magid, Morris Mallet, Corinne McChesney, David Newman, Max Rosenstein, Peter David Schifrin, Myra Schoenfeld, Max Schwartz, Isidore Schwartz, Marvin Seaman, Ida Shapiro, Sanford Shapiro, Lily Silver, Charlie Silver, Helen Steinberg, Catherine Walker, Arnold Weber, Mo Weisenberg, and Randall Wood. If there are other names that you would add to either list or names that are better spoken aloud by you, please would you share them with us at this time? Zichronam Levarcha, may their memories be for a blessing as we turn to page 598 and recite the mourner's Kaddish together. Yitgadal v'yitgadash shmei Rabbah, be'alma divrach yirutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayei uvyomei uv'chayei dechol beit Yisrael, ba'agala uvizman kariv v'imru amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevarach le'olam ulmei umayah. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shmei dekudasha b'richu, le'elah min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechamata da'amiran be'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav, Huya aseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'al kol yoshvei tevel v'imru amen. May the one who creates harmony on high bring peace to us, to all who are mourning, to all Israel, as we join together in saying, Amen. Amen. And please be seated. Please be seated. We hope that you will join me in thanking Elise Wojciechowski, who has been forthcoming and beautiful and wonderful in just saying yes for the last couple of weeks to stepping in as the cantor is mending, and she is well on her way to good strong health, which we are appreciative of, but so thankful, Elise, that you have lent your fullness and your spirit and your beautiful voice to our services these last weeks. We want to remind you that tomorrow morning there is religious school, and hopefully by then the heat will be back on in the sanctuary. That's our hope and our prayer, and that we have our Tu B'Shvat program tomorrow morning. Our office is closed on Monday in observance of Martin Luther King Jr. Day. Wednesday, the cantor starts her lunch and learn program called Jewish Stories and Legends. And next Friday night at 6 o'clock, we have our Erev Shabbat services with a guest speaker from Jewish Family Services, licensed social worker Rachel Glazer. And then on Saturday morning, we have Torah study on Zoom and services in person as well. We want to draw your attention, please, to the Social Action Committee's final program. It's been an incredible series on perspectives on policing, past, present, and future, reimagining policing, with guest speaker Daniel Ponder. She is a community activist and an extraordinary speaker, so please join us. Mark your calendars, please, for Saturday, February 12th. Winterfest will be back. There is no risk. You can be outside and still together and enjoy some good outdoor fun with everybody and have an opportunity to be in community. February is Jewish Disability Awareness and Inclusion Month, and each Friday night in February we'll have a very different presentation than we have had in the past, looking more specifically at inclusion through some different lenses of diversity, awareness, and activism. Please look at our website. There are a number of places that need financial support, that need items donated. Kentucky tornado disaster relief, Afghan refugees, the fight against anti-Semitism, the Literacy Coalition. There are a number of places that you will find on our website, and we hope that you will contribute there as well. Anything that we should know from where you are, any announcements, any joys, any celebrations, any community activities we should know about? You can unmute yourselves if there is something for us to know as well. This is not a Nachshan moment, by the way. This is just a time to say, yeah, I've got an announcement. We thank Marie again for your beautiful Torah reading. Thank you, thank you, thank you. We are eager to have you back in the sanctuary when the time is right for each of you to have our Torah out and to have that opportunity to hear words together, though Marie, it was every bit as powerful on Zoom and here in the sanctuary as well. So we thank you. Join us please with the singing of Adon Olam in just a moment on page 625. We will make Kiddush and Motzi as well, but let's start on page 625 with the singing of Adon Olam.
Adon Olam asher malach b'terem kol yitzir nivra le'et nasa b'chefzo kol azai melech shemo nikra ve'acharei kichlot hakol levado yimloch nora ve'hu haya ve'hu hove ve'hu yeh b'tifara והוא אחד ואין שני להמשילו להכבירה בלי ראשית בלי תכלית ולא העוז והמשרה והוא אלי וחי גואלי וצור חבלי וצרה והוא ניסי ומנוס לי מנת כוסי ביום אקרא בידו הפקיד רוחי בעת אישן והעירה ואם רוחי גבייתי אדוני לי ולא יירא.
Join us please in Kiddush, the sweetness, the sanctity of this day. We hope it follows you throughout in good, strong health. We'll share first Kiddush and then Motzi.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen.
Amen. L'chaim.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, המוציא לחיים הארץ.
Amen. Shabbat Shalom, everybody. Take a moment, unmute yourselves, wish each other a Shabbat Shalom online, and Shabbat Shalom. Good week ahead and good strong health to everybody.